Hello and welcome back to another episode on a surprisingly humid Monday morning, I won't lie. But despite the humidity, that's not going to dampen my excitement for the release of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night on Nintendo Switch. A version of this game which rightly is getting some negative attention, and it's worthwhile seeing this game open from the home screen menu, in fact, because this port is being criticised initially, at least, for its loading times. That's one of the major complaints that I've seen online, and here we are waiting and waiting for that initial logo, still waiting, still waiting, still waiting, still waiting. There we go. And then we finally get to see the developer or the studio's logo come through. It's not the best port of this title, and that's a real shame, considering that initially this game was going to be released on the Wii U when it was announced as a Kickstarter, indeed massively overfunded as a Kickstarter. The Switch is a far more capable console, and they shouldn't be having these issues. The issues also include, for example, button input lag, texture issues, the muddiness of the graphics, general fidelity compared to the Xbox One and PS4 and PC iterations of the game. And I'm here today to say that despite that, and despite the fact that it's not registering my button press, there we go, despite that, I'm having a huge amount of fun with this game. Koji Igarashi has created a worthy successor to Symphony of the Night. They just need to fix some of this stuff. Like, look, the loading wheel isn't really spinning there. Loading in general in this game just is weird, and we'll probably see some instances of this as we proceed. But despite that, the bones are good, you know, and I have faith in this developer, who have initially and very forthrightly accepted the issues with the Switch port and have promised to fix it in a series of updates. Instead of playing as Alucard, though, in this game you play as a shard binder called Miriam. Miriam here, oh, she's wearing a mask at the moment. Let's see if we can get that mask off her. Give her some elven ears instead. Miriam, who is a shard binder, who is a sort of a magical, a human being who's been forged into a magical receptacle by having a crystal embedded in her body by alchemists. Now, note that we had to load as we went through into this room here. This is an alchemist who. It's good to see you. Johannes, who serves as a shopkeep in the game. But I'm not going to buy anything from him. Come back anytime. Will do. On we go. And is it going to load here? It is going to load here. Now watch this. We go back. No load. Now I understand. You could say, well, it's all now in the RAM, as it were, of the title. It can just access it when it wants to. But there, mini load. I'm going back through here. No load. It needs work. It really does need work. But as I say, despite that, the bones are good. The shape and the form and the feel of this game is excellent. Miriam is a wonderful surrogate for Alucard in Symphony of the Night, and actually the Bloodstained mythos, the lore behind this game is one that I'm really quite enjoying. I did play Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, the sort of the 8-bit release of a sort of a prequel kind of story to this game, setting the scene and the tone of the world, which was incidentally one of the stretch goals for the Kickstarter. They got so much money that they were able to make another game on top of this game. And again, with that in mind, you sort of think, well, you're so overfunded, you should have been able to deliver a port that works from the get-go. But as you can see, it is passable. It's just not as good as it should or could be. And I am looking forward to those updates improving, for example, as I say, things like button recognition and also the speed with which Miriam responds to your button presses. The lag in button press speed can be a bit dodgy, and that has made some of the combat in this game difficult. Not impossible, just difficult. And I've been sort of embracing a kind of a Dark Souls sort of attitude while playing this, because I wanted to love this game, and I think, unlike so many other games that might have committed similar cardinal sins when it comes to the Switch port of the title, lots of people are giving this one not a free pass, but they're giving it a bit of time because they want to love it, and I really do. I wanted to love it, and I do love it. I'm always a sucker for worlds in games. That began all the way back on the Game Boy with Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which incidentally I have pre-ordered the special edition of that for the Switch. I simply had to. I don't often pre-order special editions, but the special edition was announced a couple of days ago, and I had to pre-order it. Not with the lamp though. The rupee lamp seems a bit silly, so I'm just getting the one with the art book. But anyway, it started then, and it continued throughout my whole life. And Symphony of the Night is no different, or was no different. Incidentally, as well, fun fact: these portraits throughout the game are actually portraits based on backers. I think if you donated $1,000 to the Kickstarter, you got the ability to have your chosen portrait put into the game, which is quite cool. In some instances, the portraits are a bit weird, like you have cats, presumably someone's pet, put in there. And I don't know if you had to dress up, for example, in this instance as a vampire to get in, or if you were submitted your face and the artists sort of Castlevania-fied you, or Bloodstained you, as it were. But yeah, so that love for these sorts of games and worlds in games, explorable spaces, intricate dialogue and lore and imagination has always intrigued me. And with Symphony of the Night, it was no different, except for the fact that I played Symphony of the Night much later than most people did. It wasn't until only actually a couple of years ago that I got my hands on a version of the game as a download on the Xbox Live Arcade on the Xbox 360. The PlayStation version by then was rather expensive, and I hadn't grown up playing PlayStation. I've talked about this in the past. Now that was a shard coming out of a demon that I've just killed. And this is something that's worthwhile mentioning, is that Miriam has the ability to absorb the powers and the attacks of creatures that she's killed. Not always, but you'll get like a random drop in there. So it's almost like any other sort of loot or item in the game that you can pick up. Loot, obviously not loot box though. So for example, you can have shards that you conjure by pressing the X button on the Nintendo Switch, and this includes things like a giant thrashing tentacle that you can pull out of space. In fact, let's show you the giant thrashing tentacle, shall we? Yes! And that thing, that's powerful. You can, I'll go back to my summon bats. And they'll have a magical cost, so you can see the purple bar there is the magic. And it will deplete as you use your shards, but you can summon some bats. They're quite useful. You can fire arrows if you've chosen that, or picked up that skill from a demon. In the case of this guy, though, I once picked up a shard. It was a passive shard. And that's a shard that's sort of always on, as it were, and that is a sword expertise. It ups my ability with sworded weapons and mace attacks. A useful thing to have. There's a directional shards as well, and this is something I quite like in this game. Actually, is you have so one of the early ones you get is the flame cannon, for example, and with the right hand stick on the controller, you can actually move Miriam's arm, and you can direct spells. Now this is used early on in the game to open a door. You can sort of hold your hand up to a door and it opens if it responds to magic, or you can sort of aim, basically. It's almost like Contra-like, but not as smooth as Contra. And then you press the RZ, or the right trigger button, and she will do that magical spell. So this use of shards is really interesting. I'm enjoying it, and it's adds a depth to the gameplay that's very welcome. There's also other things as well in this game that weren't really present in Symphony of the Night. Things like, for example, quests. So there's NPCs who will give you requests to go and kill certain demons or certain types of demons, because those are the ones that killed their loved ones. This kind of thing. It's nice, and again, it feels like a worthy successor and building on. It's not just retreading the same ground as Symphony of the Night. It is actually adding to it. And again, the Switch version, while it has its problems, it's still very playable. I'm enjoying it, and I've just had to, as I say, in that Dark Souls way, get good at building in some awareness of the timing issues. Incidentally, see, there's someone's cat, someone there dressed as sort of Henry VIII or in like a Renaissance style for their portrait. Must be very exciting to have your own portrait in the game, to be able to play it, play the game and run past your portrait. I wonder if, and I'll have to look into this, I guess. I wonder if they got a version of their portrait as like a print that they could hang on, like a poster on their wall. That would be really cool. I wonder if they sent one out to the backers. But if I find anything about that, I'll put it on the screen for you. There we go. So, we go, 3 bats. This guy has a wonderful death animation. Jim Sterling's video on this this game was excellent in terms of its opening. I won't spoil it, but it makes use of that guy and his death animation. There we go. So yeah, I'm liking the soundtrack. Initially, I was thinking nothing could live up to the original soundtrack, and this is not as good as the original, but it's very much in that same vein. It gives you the same sort of feeling. It's a very welcome soundtrack in terms of atmosphere, and again with that, for goodness sake, that familiar relationship between side-scrolling combat, the stats that you see on the screen in terms of the damage that you're doing, the ability to customize your character, unlocking certain costume aspects. So, for example, you can change Miriam's hair, hat, hairband type thing. You can change the armor, but it won't change how she looks on screen. And as I did earlier, you can have sort of elf ears or stone mask, this kind of thing. And also her scarf changes on screen as well. So you can customize visually to a certain extent. I think there's one dress or one costume that you can get that will change her sort of torso appearance. I'm yet to actually come across it. But yeah, I'm loving it. And it just scratches that itch, It scratches that itch, and crucially, in a very satisfying way for me, it scratches it in a way that I'm on board with from the beginning. I always had this sensation when I was playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night that I'd been very late to an excellent party. And here, thankfully, I'm in at the beginning. And actually, I'm happy to say I did back the Kickstarter, but only at the lowest level. So I got nothing other than Koji's thanks, as it were. You have my thanks was the message on the Kickstarter. That's fine. I didn't have any money, any spare money at all when this was announced 4 years ago, I think. So in a small way, I helped this game happen, but by no means in as big a way as the support that other people gave. So I think with a little bit of graphical optimization, especially the button inputs, again, I'm getting used to how I combat that and how I work with that. But sometimes a jump just won't register, or sometimes it'll take a while for for a button press to actually take effect, which in this sort of Twitch combat, you know, Twitch on the Switch, it makes a difference. It really does matter if whether or not your hits are actually registering, because of course what you want is that seamless sensation of control, you know, your intent made manifest on the screen. And at the moment it feels more like you're brawling your way through the castle, and of course that's always been the case. You brawled through with Alucard, but with Alucard you had this sort of silky smooth. See, just then I just tried to hit him then with my mace and it didn't work, so I had to run away. And I should be using my back steps a bit more, but again, back steps don't always register, which is a real hassle. I'm flipping and flopping, aren't I, between complaining about this game. See, that registered. Complaining about this game and loving it, and I think that's okay. Yeah, I think I'm only complaining in the way that I'm complaining because I love it and because I can see the potential, and because also, frankly, as I say, there's something so important about having a variety of games available at the moment. In this particular market, where this sort of game often will come up as a sort of as a retro experience, I think it's important to be able to demonstrate that actually there's room for this type of gameplay in a current gen console and in a current gen market. But that's no excuse for doing it poorly. You know, my desire to want to play this game, to want to love this game, and to support it is not an excuse. I'm by no means am I excusing the state that it's in. I'm just willing it to be better. You know, like a wayward child I'm Uncle Mark, and I've come along. I put £5 in its pocket, and it's just I've just caught it truanting a little bit, and I'm like, come on, Charlie, you can do better than this. Come on, Koji, you guys can do better. And crucially, they promised to do better. So again, it's not a free pass, but it is a little bit of extra time. Now, you could say, well, why don't you just get the PlayStation 4 version? I have a PlayStation 4, why don't I do that? And, oh, my hit didn't register then! There we go. And the simple reason is that I also want to be able to play this portably. You know, the promise of Castlevania-ish gameplay to this quality and this extent, portable, is too exciting to just write off. So that's the reason, and that's the reason why I'm going to be patient and see what the updates do. But this, you know, this was definitely worth the price of admission. This experience, and I'm also a bit of a sucker for not only worlds within games, but also, actually, I should go and get. No, go the other way. Not only worlds within games, but also this gothic aesthetic. I've seen it described. Oh, come on, register my. Oh, that's annoying. That's annoying. That's very annoying. Don't die. Don't die. Ah, got 3 points left. Okay, let's see if I can get to the save room and get some health. There we go. I've seen this aesthetic described as sexy Catholic, and it's I see where they're coming from. I'm not sure I'd describe it as sexy Catholic. There's an awful lot more going on here than just Catholic imagery. Gothic is probably closer to the mark. But also a little bit of steampunk with the alchemy influence, and also the fact that this game, one of the impetuses, an impetus behind the story, one of the driving factors behind the story, is the Industrial Revolution. So alchemists that's annoying. It's like a fidget spinner gone wrong, isn't it? Alchemists who didn't like the fact that their wealthy patrons were becoming coal magnates and turning to industry for their wealth and investments, decided to unleash demons on the world, because that's really gonna bring people round to your cause, isn't it? So again, it's that sort of slightly steampunky, Industrial Revolution, gothic, vampire, not vampires though, obviously, because not Castlevania feeling, which I'm very much enjoying. And look, just imagine if you were that portrait and she starts attacking you yourself. You're gonna be. I'll be so excited to be like, that's me. I'm a possessed painting. Woohoo! Oh, go away, fidget spinner. Ow. Something that I really don't mind in this game is the fact that you don't have the weirdness of hearts giving you replenishing your magic and not your life. So the best way to replenish your life is to eat food or to use potions that you can have made for you by your alchemist friend, and to replenish magic within certain of the candelabra. You'll see roses, and actually on the magic bar you can see that there are roses around it. This is because of the sort of the rose motif. So the Bloodstained logo is all about a rose window. Miriam has a rose on her boob tattooed, and also rose tattoos on her legs as well. So roses are part of her as a shard binder's sort of magical prowess, and that's quite nice. That's something I did find weird when I first played Symphony of the Night. Again, with coming so late to that party, it was really weird to picking up hearts and not have that improve my life bar. So for me, it's kind of rationalised some of this stuff a little bit more. And also they've learned the lessons of more recent titles. So things like cooking, crafting, ties you more into this world that I'm so excited about. Something else I'm really loving is this. This is a demon who is someone's pet, included in the game as a backing perk, and I love it. You're fighting someone's kitty cat as a demon, and you know it's a demon because it's got demon horns. So it's a new demon to the archive. Let's have a look. There you go, Nayabon, a reanimated cat that perished inside the castle and has a grudge to settle. Now I had actually killed this demon previously, but I died and didn't get to save my progress. And actually I'm pretty close to dying now again. This is why I died, one of these things. Ah! Ah! So, yeah, it's not perfect, and arguably one of the reasons why my life wasn't lasting as good as it could, as well or as long as it could have otherwise done, is because of some of these switch issues. Again, look at how that loading wheel wasn't spinning. But and here we are back at the alchemist shop after it loads. There we go. But despite that, I'm enjoying it. I am genuinely enjoying it and loving this, and I think it's worth, certainly, no, sorry, it's not worth £35 to get a broken game. It's not. But this experience has been worth it for me, if that makes sense. This weekend has been glorious, and as I say, I put my faith in the developers to fix these issues. If they don't fix these issues, I will return this game, if I can. or at the very least, I'll get my hands on a PlayStation 4 copy, and I'll learn a lesson about these ports. I'll just wait until the reviews are in, because notably the Switch version of the game wasn't released until a few days after the other version. So I think that's a little bit dodgy on the side of the developers, hiding the weaknesses of one of the versions of the game. But yeah, I just love it. I can't help but love it. It's a weakness, but if you're gonna have a weakness, what a game to be weak about, eh? So, if you've been curious about this game, if you're a fan of Symphony of the Night and you wanted to know if they could pull it off, the answer is they have pulled it off. They pulled off a wonderful spiritual successor. They're just yet to fully deliver on the promise, but I think they will. So yeah, make of that what you will. As ever, guys, until next time, do take care, and bye bye.